Welcome back, Shop Rats. Today we are back on our 47 Ford Fat Fender car that we affectionately call Fat Fanny. That's a lot of F words in one sentence, just saying. Today we're working back on the brakes. We had done a machining job making a new bushing for the brake pedal, and that job is done. But there's a cross pin that goes between the pedal and the brake booster that needs to be put in. Right now we just have a bolt shoved in there and it's really sloppy. The bigger picture of what we're trying to accomplish here is there's a lot of brake pedal travel, and I'm trying to get all the slop out of it to determine whether or not the brake system is working properly. One thing about GM brakes, and that's what this basically is GM brake booster and GM master cylinder with GM discs and GM drums. One thing about those is if you use a manual brake master cylinder on a power brake booster, there's a spacer that's supposed to go in there. And I don't remember what I bought from Chassis Engineering. I'm pretty sure there's not a spacer in there, and I could go back and find the paperwork, but that was a long time ago, and it'd probably be faster to just work on it some more and figure it out this way. But anyway, if that spacer isn't in there, you get excessive travel on your brake pedal. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going on here, but I need to get all the slop out that is known to determine whether or not that is what's going on here. I suspect it is, because what happens is you step on the pedal and you got a lot of free travel, and then the booster, so there's a space in there about 3/4 of an inch long, and that spacer is supposed to take that up. So when you step on the brakes, that brake booster is pushing into the master cylinder before it hits the piston and starts pushing the master. But I want to get this other slop out of there first to determine whether or not that's what's going on. So minor details, little stuff that has to be done, but it's important to get these things done so that we can get this car on the road maybe this year. That's what we're working towards. All right, let's get after it. I'm Mike.
This is My Cars Shop.
So here's what we're talking about is the amount of travel here till it hits the master. And I suspect that right there is where that bushing is missing. However, I know that this amount of play here is also affecting that because that's where that cross pin is missing. So we got to take these floorboards back out again and get after it. Also want to make a comment here. At the time that I made this floor, I couldn't remember if these cars had wooden or metal floors in them. I have since learned they definitely were metal, and I should have known that because I remember a 44 that we had that had a metal part in here. So a 47 obviously would too. But Model A's and some of those cars in that era all had wooden floors. So anyway, when I made this, I couldn't remember that, and I thought, well, I'm going to make these anyway because they're good templates for making a metal floor eventually. So we will be making a metal floor for this car at some point, but for now, at least we have something to fill the holes in the floor, and that's good enough for me. We still need to make a hump of some kind, but I think we'll do that all at the time that we make the metal floorboards to go in this car. Anyway, that's not what we're here for today, but I wanted to mention that in case you're wondering, why is there a wooden floor in this car? Well, that's why. Some of you guys know that these cars didn't have wooden floors, but several years ago when I did this, there was no floors in the car, and this was better than nothing. The other thing we're dealing with is this right here is the where the clutch pedal would go if this was a stick. And that's kind of in the way for accessing this pin. Ouch, that exhaust pipe is hot, just mentioning that. It's not really hot. It just doesn't take me long to look at an exhaust pipe. But anyway, this is the pin down here that we need to do. So I'm thinking about just taking my Sawzall and just that off. I would use a cutoff wheel, but I don't want to create sparks everywhere. So that's what I'm thinking at this point. But we will, take it one step at a time and not get in a big rush. I'm going to try Sawzall on that and see how hard that actually is to determine whether or not it's feasible to cut that off that way. So I've been working on that for about 3 minutes and got that far through it. So it's very feasible. My battery on my Sawzall has died, and I'm going to put a little Lubadobber on there to help with the cutting as well, but we'll definitely be able to snip that off. Now, I know some people are probably having a heart attack saying, why would you cut that off of there? You might want to use that someday. Well, first of all, I'm never going to put a stick in this car. Second of all, if I keep that part and keep it in a tub somewhere, and if I want to make a stick out of it, I can weld it back on. It's not the end of the world. It's only metal. It's metal! Yeah! There we go. That's going to make life so much easier now to access that pin that's underneath there. Should have done that when I built it, but I'm always in that mode of, well, I don't want to mess up original parts because they're only original once. And I don't think that's a bad mindset to have. But by the same token, why make your life harder than it needs to be if a simple thing like that can take care of the problem? There's not much to bite onto here to actually turn a taper on the end of this, so I'm going to do a cheat and just put my grinder in here and turn it down this way. Little rough, but that'll work. So my goal here is to just have a lead in so that when I push the pin in, it can find the hole, and then I should be able to tap it through the clevis in the the brake booster rod. So that'll be good. I'm going to polish that up just a little bit so it's a little smoother, and then we'll go from there. Let's find some rough grit paper here. Got some everywhere here. Okay, good. Yeah, this will be fine. That's better. Smooth now. So I'm not using this hole. This hole's the one the pin goes through, so we'll be fine. Hopefully that'll help. Now I got to get this out of here. Cranked her down pretty good. It's just like downtown. It's just not as crowded. Down there's our pin. It's in. I can't get the clip on the other side, I think, without getting under the car. And this car is so low to the ground, it's impossible. So I think we'll let that go for now. The next thing I need to do is very important for this stage of a project. This car is getting to the point of completion, and I need to start making a list of the things that need to be done. Like, for example, I need to move this remote master cylinder reservoir out onto the firewall. These hoses aren't long enough, so that means we need to change the hoses. I need to check that master cylinder and see what type it is. I think it's a Ford Pinto master cylinder. So I'm questioning whether or not that needs to have a spacer in there or not. So that will probably require a call to chassis engineering, etc., etc. So let's make the next step here that's, I think, important on a project. And let's make a list and check it twice and find out who's naughty and nice. But our brake pedal play now is significantly better. So I could live with these brakes now, even if there is a spacer issue. It could still be an adjustment issue in the push rod into the booster, but I don't think so. One call to chassis engineering next week will tell me. I can't call them now because it's the weekend. So what we did was I mounted a whiteboard on the door here. I don't go in and out of the store a whole lot, and started making a list of things that need to be done, like brake light switch, wiring and brake lights, master cylinder spacer. I got to check on that. Should put a question mark by it. Running boards and fenders aren't bolted on completely. We need to do that. We need to check all the body mounts. The fuel cell's not mounted. We need to permanently mount and correctly mount the seats. I need to custom fabricate, not fabricate, but make the door panels. I've got a plan for that. And I'll just keep adding to the list as I think of more and more things that need to be done here on this car. I just took it up and down the road again, and I think the issue, I don't think it's a spacer issue, although I am going to call chassis engineering. I think it needs an upper brake stop and a return spring on the pedal itself. I think that's what the issue is. So I've got to cogitate for a hot minute and figure out if I put a clock spring on there of some kind or just a coil spring that's going to pull. I don't know, but it's an interesting thing here. So we're going to work on that a little bit more and come up with a plan, or maybe we won't. I don't know. It's because it's about spending the day here doing what I'm doing, and this is what I'm doing, figuring it out. Not a permanent solution, but I got a spring attached to the clevis under here with a zip tie here to test the theory. We're going to take it for a drive now and see how it works, but you can see that it's definitely pulling, and it's pulling everything back. So I like that, and I think it's a good step forward. So I'm going to go for a drive. I'll be right back. That made all the difference in the world. Just a little bit of spring pressure. So I may leave it like that. I may order the correct spring and make a spring bracket to go on the frame. I'm not sure, but right now I'm really happy with the way that works. It's got much more sensitivity, and I can feel when the brakes are starting to come on now because I've got some pushback with the brake pedal. So the springs are like $5. So we may just order one. I don't know. Something else I thought of. I don't remember what it was, but I need to write it on the board. So let me think of it, and then we'll get it up there. Something I've known I needed to do for a while is get these mirrors on that car. I have no rear vision on that thing. And, I'm driving it around the property more. I'm driving it up and down the road some. I really need to be able to see what's going on behind. So I got these all polished up and cleaned up. We're going to get them put on the car. They just mount on the door edges. And, let's just go do it. So they go down in this area here. And they just go on the edge of the door and clamp on there with screws. So we'll clamp them on there with screws. Putting little rubber pads behind them to protect the paint. Not exactly crazy with the way these mount, but it's the way they are. Okay, hopefully that works. Okay, doesn't hit the body or anything, so we're good. We'll do the other side. Here we go. Looks awesome. It's really awesome. Just thinking about the trim that goes on the bottom of the fenders. I think I bought new for that. I'm going to have to dig around and see where I put that. I think it's in plastic bag somewhere. No rush today on that. I'm running out of time. It's already into the evening. But I have one more little treat for you guys, I hope. And so we'll see where we go from here. Well, piddly little stuff done, but important stuff done. And we got to go for 3 rides today. You went along for 1. The brakes are working so well, I don't know that I'm going to do anything more with them. They really, really work well. So that's good. And it just needs to be run. The last time I took you guys for a drive, the transmission was really grinding and whining. And that's actually better today. I was surprised that it wasn't nearly as in third. So it's going to, I think, get a few miles on it. It's going to calm right down. I wonder if maybe the planetary set got a little surface rust on it from the car being parked forever and never being put in drive until just the last few years. So it never really got a chance to circulate around. But I know that those planetary gear sets can be a little noisy anyway, and there's absolutely no floor over that part of the transmission. So once we get some floor and some sound deadening, it's going to be very good. Car sounds great. Still backfires now and then, and it just needs to be run. It's just been started up and putted around. So we put a couple miles on it today, actually, and it's all good. It's progress. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one. Well, you can catch me on the next one. Put it that way. And if you catch me, then probably I'll catch you too. All right. Don't forget, it's important.